Good evening, everyone. NASA's Inspector General suggests Starliner will be a decade late. My God. EchoStar's Sat TV and wireless subsidiaries file for bankruptcy. Who do you think will buy it up? We'll be talking about that. Anduril, company I don't know a lot about, but they built themselves a new test site in Mississippi, and there was an explosion there today. Speaking of explosions, Blue Origin still doesn't know why their new Glenn blew up, yet insists they will be flying again before year's end. The Federal Aviation Administration says their employees cannot purchase SpaceX stock. While Nancy Pelosi laughs. No, I say that. Southern Launch in Australia secures $25 million to increase their capability. Orbital, the new Orbital that you probably haven't heard much about, files plans for 100,000 orbital data centers. Yep, you heard that right. Now, can we grow rice on the moon? Well, some Japanese researcher says yes, we can. And Roscosmos and NASA define a strategy for the safe deorbit of ISS. That and our guest, Mordy Friedman, and what a show we have tonight. From the news desk at Center for Space Commerce and Finance, my name is Thomas Andrew Olson, and this is The Unknown Quantity. And as you know, this program is brought to you by the Center for Space Commerce and Finance. And what do? You know, we champion and strengthen emerging space startups and space-adjacent enterprises worldwide through advisory, access, and advocacy. Our legendary pitch events and world-class boot camps fortify startups to be better investor-ready. Now, a lot of our work, especially this podcast, is supported by our listeners and fans like you. So let's go to cscf.space/support. And click that Plainest Day donate button. A little in the tip jar each month makes a big difference. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell your friends. Speaking of friends, my oldest space friend, Michael Lane, who just about set his house on fire burning sage, is here with me. Come on in, man. He's still putting out the flames.
Hey,
how you doing, man? What's up?
I'm good. How's things?
That's okay. It's all right. Getting ready for the big America birthday. Right? Yeah. Boom. Yeah, we got that. Yeah. You know, Florida's going to go nuts.
Yeah.
Oh, I never know when he's just saying stuff or is it real? You know what I mean?
That was definitely real. So it is great to have Sean, our producer, back on the screens.
Yay!
I definitely did the best I could last week, but didn't go super smoothly. So good to have Tom back in the background there. Appreciate it. And hey, already, Joe, how you doing, Joe and Veronica? Nice to see y'all. Starlink, Verizon's down. All right.
Verizon Fiber, no less. Yeah, they're digging up all the yards in my neighborhood right now. AT&T is putting their fiber in. They've been promising me this shit for 6 years, and it's finally going in. But I wake up at 6 a.m. to the sound of, jackhammers and sorts of things.
In your intro, you're like almost burned the house down, lighting sage. I did have a spooky moment a bunch of years ago making Christmas cookies, and I was up in Canada, and I turned the stove to 400, thinking degrees, and it turned
Celsius.
It's turned into Celsius. So I really those cookies were smoking embers by the time I came back to them. Just 11 minutes later, so that was a close call. All right.
Holy moly.
Let's get to it. Where are we going today?
Well, let's just get to it with the first thing. With the first thing, Ars Technica, the NASA Inspector General suggesting that Boeing Starliner will now be a decade late. Will it even matter?
Will it even matter? I, you know, uh, the folks here at Ars Technica is like, oh, we've covered extensively Starliner's technical problems before.
Yeah.
So that's a worthwhile link within the link. I'm gonna copy that in and send it, post it also. But yeah, does it even matter? Just a few days ago, we had the very knowledgeable, very experienced Dallas Beanhoff on the show. And he's like, no, it's absolutely fine. Everything's going to be great. It's going to come back online. And, you and I kind of rolled our eyes like, really? Do you have some inside intel? And he's like, nope, nope, nope. But, I'm like, then just a few days later, this article comes out.
Yeah.
Will it even matter? Like, okay, before the show was on, you were actually trying to defend Starliner. So tell what you were saying.
Well, at the time when they first announced they were going to do this was still at a time when everyone in the so-called new space movement were really putting down all the old contractors. They're old dinosaurs. It's old space. They'll never be able to do something like we can do. Us nimble little mammals will take out the dinosaurs.
Right.
I said, well, wait just a second. They have a lot of money and they have a lot of time. If they get focused on something, even a fully filled super tanker can in fact do a U-turn with enough time and patience. But it seems like it's now done years later, 10, 12 years later, it's now done a complete circle turn and is heading for the rocks.
Right.
I thought, I tried to defend you guys. I tried to give you a boost and say, I'm rooting for you. I hope you do it. Well, we saw what happened. We had, two guys stranded up there for 8 months. And then, and now all the little fixes they have to do, they're just getting nickel and dime to death on this. And they won't even say what the date is now for the next flight, which is supposed to be just a cargo flight, test flight. They won't even say when it is.
No.
I'll bet it's not next year. I'll bet you it's not next year.
Yeah, and then keeping in mind that the ISS is going to get deorbited probably 2030, maybe 2032, although I'm becoming skeptical of that. So there's not much time. So even if they get the thing working, it's still like almost too little too late. Reading in the article, that capsule was supposed to come online in 2017.
Yeah.
And if it comes online next year, that'll make it a decade late.
Yep.
That's kind of awful. I would be very frustrated. Imagine you're a program manager there and you're like, sorry.
Well, maybe they need to call Dallas back out of retirement.
No, Dallas is busy where he's at. I don't want Dallas to go anywhere at all. I'm sorry, but I don't want to have that happen. All right,
maybe it's already happened.
We gotta do this quick, right?
Okay, we gotta do this quick. So what's up next? Another company goes banco in the communication industry. Dish Network guys, EchoStar, the parent company. All their subsidiaries are filing for bankruptcy right now, which means there's going to be a lot of hardware up for grabs for probably, dimes on the dollar.
Right.
So who will pick it up?
Considering what we just saw with SpaceX a couple months ago and
Rocket Lab last week.
This week, yeah. I imagine there's going to be a lot of folks wanting that stuff. That's going to be crazy. I wonder if it's just a reorg plan and everything's going to be fine. Like they'll figure it out and come back online, or if they are they're just
Oh my God! It just occurred to me. This is Dish, right?
right. Yeah,
So pick up. No, Avialto needs to do this. We have the money right now.
right,
I'd buy that stuff right now. We pick up all the Dish stuff, just the Dish stuff,
right.
and redistribute it in places like Indonesia, where we're going to be doing business. And all they
Mm,
have to do, it's a very simple thing. All you have to do is just, instead of aiming it at a satellite, you're aiming it at our high altitude platform.
right.
Done.
Done.
Ah,
That's a pretty good move there, guy.
it just occurred to me just now. Wait a minute.
Wait a
We
minute.
could actually use that old shit. We could put it over here, and half the third world will light up.
Huh. I'd start making some calls over that.
Yeah, I'll ping Walt as soon as we get off the show.
Yeah.
And see if it makes any sense. But yeah, that would be quite the thing.
That's cool.
Anyway,
All right.
okay. There's this company called Anduril, and they're a defense company. They have a rocket motor business that is built apparently relatively recently a new test site in Mississippi. A serious explosion yesterday knocked it right out. And it could disrupt a key part of their rocket motor business.
Right. So they're kind of they're newer than the rest of New Space. So the guy in charge, Palmer Luckey, people may remember him because he's the one who came up with the goggles, the VR goggles that turned ultimately into the Meta product for VR. And before that, he was a drone guy back, I don't know, 15 years ago or so.
Mm-hmm.
And he got out of both of those things only around the bad days of the pandemic. Maybe it's 2020, maybe 2021, and started really pivoting towards defense tech, and he was really kind of pushing into that. And one of our own guys that's been on our show a couple of times, Dr. Daniel Tompkins, was in DC walking around the halls of Congress during space the Space Week, and Pro Space, that's what it is, Pro Space. And he saw Andrew walking around the halls of Congress. Like, that guy hangs out there to get contracts. It's a really interesting story about the individual.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that much about the person, the company, the company itself, but the guy with the pulse is a pretty interesting character and kind of makes that company work. So it's worth looking up to and seeing what this guy's up to. But
yeah, well, interestingly, this outfit was supposed to begin mass production of these rocket engines a year ago yesterday.
Okay.
And they haven't done it yet.
Not yet.
And boom, on the anniversary of their promise, something blew up.
Something blew up. Yikes.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yikes.
Well,
let's do this.
Speaking of something blowing up, next
well, here it is, a month now, and the Bourgeois still doesn't know why the new Glenn rocket blew up, but they still insist that they're going to be back in business before the end of the year. How can you build another one that fast and have that rapid a turnaround without knowing what the problem is?
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to be us to ask this question. Michael.
Yeah, I would want to know what happened. But they're like, okay, full steam ahead. Let's go get this thing built.
There's some Go Fever on the board there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know. The news is not.
There's not a lot of news today. We can just skip it. There's not that much to.
Yeah, there's not much. Well, it hasn't been. I mean, I had
Well,
6 items. I pared it down to 8, and even those I weren't happy with. So here we are.
There was something that came out. It's not in this article. That's what I was like scanning through. But Isaacman made a comment yesterday or the day before where they may fly Blue Origin hardware on other people's rockets. He didn't say whose, but how frustrating would it be if you're building cargo for Blue and it flies on a SpaceX rocket? Because I said that on stage at ISTC. Wouldn't it be great if we weren't in this monopoly situation? We could just pass stuff over. It was the only thing that got an applause from the audience was, modularity and standardization. And it may be imposed upon them by Isaacman to put Blue equipment on a SpaceX machine. So, yeah, I honestly would kind of dig that.
Yeah. Well, also, it's Elon's not going to care.
No,
$10
well,
is $10.
Jeff
He's not going to care.
Jeff
and he'll get a brownie point and say, "Yeah, I bailed somebody out yet again. I bailed out Boeing. I bailed out these guys. I did this, and now I'm bailing out my biggest competitor."
Right?
Sure.
But I think it would genuinely be good for the industry, and reminding everyone that when we had Mark Levinson on the show, he said that the standardization came about because the Navy required industry to figure out standardization. So this could be a moment where NASA, through Isaacman, requires our industry to figure out standardization, even for a little piece, or maybe it's a big piece. We don't know. This is all speculation. We don't have any inside facts about this.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on.
Okay. Well, here's the funny one of the day. FAA says their employees can't buy SpaceX stock.
And what was your comment during?
In the background, Nancy Pelosi is laughing.
Right.
I'm just pointing out the hypocrisy of the fact that the Congress of the United States has been insider trading for decades. But this one agency says, "Oh no, we can't." Put ourselves in that position. Now it says, okay, not SpaceX stock. They don't mention Rocket Lab. They don't mention Blue. They don't mention anybody else. It's just SpaceX stock.
Yeah, Blue is not publicly traded.
But all these things are coming out. I mean, it does include. Well, no, I take it back. They include SpaceX and Blue and Rocket Lab and Virgin Galactic.
Okay.
And Blue is not publicly traded yet.
Okay.
But there's a whole bunch of other companies out there that have stock offerings that they could get into. It's kind of interesting. Just those little ones.
Huh.
Sitting there. I don't know what to make of it. I don't know what message.
I kind of like that they can't do that. I don't think you should be able to do that kind of stuff from an ethics perspective.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. I don't know if it's going to start a trend. It's
yeah. I was a little surprised by that, but I think ultimately it's a good idea.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We're in agreement on that. Okay. A spaceport operator called Southern Launch is based out of Adelaide. Has just raised $25 million in a funding round led by national security investor Brindabella and Company, with the National Reconstruction Corporation committing $10 million in direct equity to help scale Australia's, ready for it, sovereign infrastructure.
Do you have a a Google alert on the word sovereign? Is that how you're finding these articles?
No, I am just got the luck the good Lord gave me. I just run across these things. I said, yeah, I'm using that one.
Yeah, it is. It's perfect. Is that, I don't know anything about this. Is that a dish? I mean, the image implies it's a dish. Spaceport operators. So Yet another spaceport we were not aware of.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. The Southern launch facilitated the world's first commercial spacecraft re-entry. Oh, this is where Varda is coming in at.
Yep.
All right, we know that. Curious, they're not naming Varda, but we know that they came in the backcountry of Australia, so that must be connected.
Yeah.
Huh.
Ah.
All right. Australia's got another spaceport. I wonder where it is. That's something probably worth looking up.
Well, yeah, it's probably not directly in Adelaide itself, I would imagine. Could be. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
I wonder if your guy is connected to this. Your Australian guy.
Favor.
I wasn't thinking Faber. I was thinking the other.
Oh, Jason Held.
Held, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll have to ask him. He's more connected with the Australian Space Agency itself, but he might know these guys. He knows pretty much everybody down there now.
Right.
We need to get him on again. He's so good. Yeah. Okay, a couple more things real quick. Apparently, of course, as you know, securing sustainable food supplies is a key challenge for long-term exploration and habitation, of the moon and Mars, really. Yep. And so some researchers from Tohoku University and JAXA addressed this obstacle by creating a green energy-efficient plasma technology capable of synthesizing nitrogen fertilizer from atmospheric air. No. So an artificial plant.
Right.
An artificial legume that does exactly the same thing.
That's pretty neat, actually. I'm going to give them some credit on that.
Yep. Or you can plant peanuts. You know what I mean? I mean, just,
Experiments revealed that adding N2O3 or 5, my eyes aren't thick, N2O5, dissolved water to the lunar regolith simulant successfully neutralized the highly alkaline conditions, lowering its pH from 9.09 to an optimal 6.76. This neutralization released critical mineral nutrients trapped in the regolith, such as calcium, magnesium, potassium ions, allowing plants to absorb them more readily. I didn't know such a things were in the regolith at all. That's kind of a big deal.
It is.
Huh. I have not heard of this before.
And it doesn't take a lot of energy. It only takes 100 watts in the whole process. So that's vaguely important.
Yeah.
Solar panels and, they haven't installed the nuke plant yet.
This is really great. I did not know this is a thing. That's cool. Good on them. Yeah, I'm just kind of reading this one for the first time. Good for them. Good for us. All right, moving on.
Okay, well, there's only one more thing.
All right.
The timing is perfect. Roscosmos and NASA have defined a strategy for the safety orbiting of the International Space Station. And so at least they are basically officially announcing that they're working the problem. So which means that's a step closer to the harsh reality that this thing's going down in 4 years.
Right. It's a step closer to another billion-dollar contract that goes live with SpaceX to bring that thing down. I think people are underestimating how bringing that thing down is going to work out. I still want to cut into pieces and sell it for scrap up there, but and leave it up there, but my wishes are not being granted.
Well, a lot of the naysayers say a lot of those pieces, take those pieces apart and sell them to other guys to extend their own operations. And some of that stuff's still old. It's getting cracks in it and stuff right now. So
yeah, no, I wouldn't. It's beyond life safety. I wouldn't go in that thing at this point.
Yeah.
But but I need a big counterweight. I just want a big empty box that I can put rocks in. So I don't have to worry about that stuff.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Okay, are you ready for some fun?
Yeah, let's
Are we
have
ready to go? Okay, let's bring on our guest. Mordy Friedman is back with us, but this time we're having a special night, just like Michael did a few weeks back. Hi, Mordy, how you doing?
Hey, how are you?
He's going to be actually doing a simulated pitch in real time of his company, WSPEC, in front of the whole world for all of us to look at and comment on. And so including the folks in our comment section. So how are we doing this? I guess you're going to share your screen and so you can do your slides and
yeah. So thank you. Yes,
it's not a new space business plan competition. And we're not specifically timing you. You're probably we assume you're gonna keep it to within 10-15 minutes, and then we'll have plenty of time for just like peppering you with questions and
yeah. Thank you. Okay, so let me see if I can. So just have a look at it. I don't know. I'm trying to share my screen. I don't know if that's working.
There we go. Yep.
All right. So talking about
Etheria.
Right? The bigger picture of the space elevator, company building to highway to the stars. My name is Mordy Friedman, CEO and founder of Etheria. And before we get to front, I want to make one, in talking about our mission, things to clarify, premises coming into this conversation. We are under the understanding that space is the future of humanity. Space has a lot of value that can be brought and benefit humanity. It's something we don't need to explain. If you want that to be explained again, we can talk about that. That's something that we are already assuming you understand. And also that a physical connection to space is something that will eventually happen. A physical connection from a body in space to space. Earth is hopeful, but in general, the concept of having a physical connection to space is the ultimate way to access is eventually going to happen at some point, and that will enable space access to grow and space to really be able to benefit from the bodies of wherever we're doing work to space. So these are inevitable features. Etheria exists specifically to unlock humanity's access and to accelerate this timeline and to push for a physical connection from Earth to space. Now, in space, the space missions are very complicated. They take very long timelines, and that's very, again, especially with a project of this kind of scale, it's potentially generational. So our roadmap is very much phased. For this talk, I'm really going to focus on what we're working on right now, but just to give a clear picture of kind of the long-term vision and the steps that it takes to actually constructing a space elevator. Of course, we may not know the exact times on it, but initially the idea is to prove the concept, prove the market, prove what we're able to do. Then it goes into dominating the industries and really advancing the capabilities so that we have the ability to go and produce. Then phase 3 would be initial testing of the core systems, proving the value of the full systems working together at a higher level. Then phase 4 would be construction and testing of the full space elevator. And then, of course, continuous scaling after that and growth as an organization, as a company. So phase 1, which is the current phase, and that's really where it's active, and that's like you're hinting on, Thomas, about WSPEC. There's 3 main parts that are going on right now. Like I said, that this phase is really about proving the foundation, proving the space elevator as a concept, that the technology is viable, also proving that there's interest and that there's a market around that, and proving that it's physically possible, which is critical to where we go next. So these include three main parts. There's WSPEC, which is the World Space Elevator Competitions, materials R&D, materials, which is the common go-no-go on the space elevator right now, and global policy. Policy is required to actually enable us to be allowed to build this. Okay. Now, WSPEC is a currently operating nonprofit organization that we help support, fund, and run. It's entirely separate from Etheria, but the objective of it is to advance both interest in the concept of the space elevator and general technology to ultimately show that the space elevator is something that's possible to the world and develop the technology that comes out of it or the technologies that are needed for it separately. WSPEC, as an organization that exists right now, sits in a spot of selling the concept of space elevator, sharing the idea of a space elevator through the competitions that we host, through the events that we host, as well as focusing it in a way that benefits the world right now. So education, specific technologies that are necessary for the world right now, but taking the space elevator, breaking it down into a system of systems, and allowing us to test many different ideas together on the specific technologies that we need. Getting many different answers to the same questions, really letting us see where to go in the long run, or what is the most valuable in the long run for a space elevator. It also allows for global visibility as a public and forward-facing brand. It on its own can sustain itself through the value it's generating, and be seen by the people and spread the word of the space elevator. And importantly, also self-sustaining on its own because of the value it generates, because of the educational value and the technological value that it's producing. It's able to sustain itself and keep itself running in the long run, which is very important as an early stage part of the project, where regardless of the space elevator's timeline, regardless of how long it's undertaking, we're building an ecosystem in itself that will continue scaling and growing, building that. Then we also have material science. We're doing research on the common denominator, trying to find where, for the space elevator right now, the most complicated part is the material science. To go no-go on it, we don't currently have material that's strong enough that we can produce at scale to build a space elevator. So although there are theoretical materials that will work, we still have no way of manufacturing it. In material science and in advanced materials, in two-dimensional materials, there's a common production method called CVD, or chemical vapor deposition. And our focus on this early stage is rethinking this from a ground-up perspective on making it a scalable model as a production method. The advantages of coming up with that as a production method opens up material production in many different ways. So besides for just the graphene or carbon nanotubes or HBN, which are the materials that could be used for a space elevator, that can be produced using this method, we can actually produce many other potential materials, other advanced materials. So this opens up an industry in itself. And our focus of this would be to actually have a machine that we can use to produce this material at scale as a manufacturing company. But again, importantly, also not just the graphene, not just the space elevator materials, also on the side of, as this early phase, we can't just focus on the end goal of a space elevator, because there has to be value immediately, there has to be value in the short term. And that's specifically where material production as a whole, which is a consistent thing, regardless of needing it at the scale for a space elevator, it's very important right now. We're also working on, or building on this early phase, building on the legislative plan, on a legislative plan to enact over the coming few years, to enable a space elevator to exist legally. Obviously, space law is very complicated how it goes, but we do want to make sure that as this happens, and again, knowing of course the timeline of how things fall, but making sure that this is something that's possible, something that's into consideration, whether it comes to space debris, whether it comes to the physical access to having a connection to space, or whatever else could come up to allow for a physical connection to exist to space. Now, throughout this entire project, there's a lot of continuous R&D that we do. There are organizations we partner with, like the International Space Elevator Consortium or the JSEA in Japan. We do a lot of research in the space elevator itself, as well as some flat done internally. This is a continuous effort that we will keep doing and keep pushing forward, even though it doesn't generate immediate and direct value. Very important to understand from a company perspective. All right, so again, that's our phase one. That's where we are in terms of building phase one, our 24-month objectives. And this is really what our goals are over the next couple of months. Focus one is on de-risking the technology, proving the technology is capable, possible, something we can do, and then validating the market, and introducing it to the market, spreading the word, and understanding, and seeing kind of the results there, and proving that this is something that we can build to with an existing market and with the needs and uses of the future space economy. To de-risk the technology, we are aiming to have production blueprints for our CVD reactor, have the full plan for that, as well as an IP portfolio of the reactor and our internal production method for the material, and lab verification on the material synthesis itself to develop a material at whatever scale, but that is possible to build a space elevator with, so that we know for sure that this is something that we can actually do. We also aim to have a pipeline and a plan for our venture studio, which would be a studio that would then incubate future companies for phase two, but that would be, again, aligning with our next raise, which would then be to turn ourselves into this production method and start manufacturing this material, as well as also incubate some of the companies that we see from the parallel technologies to again, continue growing that feasibility and that proof that this is something we can do while generating value throughout. And then to validate the market, we have the global pipeline. So we expect to grow with a 50+ at least team of a global university teams or engineering teams from around the world developing hardware and developing technology for future space elevator and working on that as a problem. Successfully launched the first operational years. And validate the concept of WSpec being its own self-sustaining model and that it can secure its own sponsorship and funding throughout and get to full self-sufficiency. As well as also work on the legislative framework and have a complete plan so that we can start enacting on that and pitching there where that's necessary to really spread, to really make sure that the space elevator is possible when we're ready. Now, our team, again, building a project does require a very active team. So we do currently have myself as the CEO. We do have a development officer in Shuichi Ono of the JSE Japan, who has experience in the space elevator community and that's that over the past 20 years, as well as any advisors. We are actively looking for other positions, and that's very important in our initial raising where we are right now. We're very actively looking for a material scientist or a full-time material scientist to take this on. Again, right now that's a research plan built on advisors. It's something that a very heavy dedication in the early start, as well as operations, right? Being that this is a very complex operation in the sense that it's running 3 distinct projects at once. Finding a proper operations person, again, will come with, that's where we are now. Reach out, or at the same time, again, that's something we will be able to have once we have the capital. Our use of funds over the next 24 months, briefly, 38% of that goes to our team personnel. So that's a 7-person core team we're going to have, and that's the operation and running cost of the team. 19% of it goes into our R&D infrastructure and assets. That's really retained value. It's mostly being kept. And then 27% goes to legal, regulatory, and admin. That's our investment in our future. That's our IP. That's our research into the legislative plan. And then the WSpec ecosystem as well. That's a ecosystem that we're building on itself. It's a donation to a nonprofit, but that 16% of our funding will get it to self-sufficiency. We'll be able to get it sustaining for those first couple of years. We'll also establish Etheria as a brand that supports space elevator technology and technology advancement in general. So, to jump here, Etheria, we have a plan. We're building the highway to the stars. We're building this future infrastructure. We do understand that this is an inevitability. It's something that will eventually happen. It's something that we need to work forward to. But in this work, in this gap of where we are right now, from where we know we will eventually be, where the world will eventually be, there's a lot of development and a lot of value that can be brought. And that's pretty much where we sit in developing the value, accelerating the value, and getting us closer and faster to that end goal. So thank you for listening. This is your invitation to join us. Take any questions now. You guys pick this apart. Thank you.
Yay. Okay. Thanks. That deck's looking really good. I got Sean. You coming on? You going to join us for this?
Yes.
There he is. Okay, great. I hate to say, did I miss something? Did I miss the ask? How much money are you looking for?
You didn't miss the ask. It's not.
You see, you have the distribution of funds. Here's where we're going to spend the money. And the slide just before it, you should be asking for the money. You should be saying, "Oh, how much do I need to get this going and get it moving for the next 2 years?" Because you've already talked about a 2-year timeline very well. Okay, How is that 2-year timeline funded, and what's the idea behind that? That's a huge thing.
Okay, so I guess so I do have another version of the slide deck with the price and with the number in there, and with the actual amount. It's a high amount, and I do also know that especially with startups, they very often look at the team. And like I said, right now, a big part of our ask at this point is also build a team. So strategically, it's kind of left behind so that we ask about it and talk about it. Where once you're interested, I'm happy to share what it is. Again, that's the strategy behind it. But thank you. Yeah, I guess okay. But the ask itself, and specifically to get us running over the next 4 years, it's $6.1 million is what's necessary. That's the number.
Okay.
I still want to hear the number.
6.1. 6,100,000.
That's not. You can mention that number.
It's relative to what it is. I mean, this is. It's a bargain. If you're buying 20%, so at 30%, well, okay, it's a good offer, but
So from my point of view, from a sales point of view, I am looking at this, and you did a great presentation of the technical side and of what you wanted to do. But if I'm an investor on the other end, I want to know what my money is going to get me, and as soon as possible, you know. So that's where I start from. It's like, all right, you got something, sell me on your project. What makes it special? You know, part of the problem with the space elevator, and the same thing with the lunar elevator, is an audacious project. You got to have a set of cojones to do it, right? But there's got to be a benefit. And my disciplined way I see things is there's got to be a benefit whether it succeeds or fails. And that's the way I think of things. And I know a lot of people are like, I'm all in. You got to be all in. No, I've been around block. I've taken enough black eyes, but figuratively and literally in my life to know you got to be prepared for both. So I think what you're doing is worthwhile, and that's something you have to sell. Look, what we're doing is worthwhile because there's going to be discoveries because we're pursuing this path. And there's an economic engine right there by itself. But we damn sure believe that we can build this. And you got to be confident of that. And then you got to show a bit of an economic case and all that. But try to get to the money real early.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and I guess that's specifically to your point, that that's what this pitch is about, right? Besides for the R&D that's going to need to happen, besides for let's say the legislative aspect, which those take time. Right now, in the short term, Ethereum, which is a pipeline, that's a future concept for the space elevator. So that does take a little bit of understanding of the bigger picture. And again, that's the premise of that, right? Understanding that the space elevator is something that'll happen where by pushing that forward, there's a chance to invest in that or a chance to get involved in that. And then from the material side that's where the real, let's say, monetary value is the IP and the value that comes out of material science in general, which has incredible value, growing value, and then being able to reduce it at scale, at quality, again, becomes something.
Okay. I know Veronica just mentioned, since you call it a nonprofit, so are investments, and what are they investing in, or are they more considered donations? There's a conflict there.
Yeah, something very much to clarify. So like I said, WSPEC is its own separate entity. WSPEC is a 501c3, entirely independent. It functions to advance space elevator technology forward through education, through the competitions that it hosts, as well as developing technology necessary for the space elevator, but also that has value right now. So that's what WSPEC does. Yes, money going into that is a donation, absolutely. Ethereum, no, that's a for-profit company. The standard equity, again, with the nonprofit, there's no ownership either. Nonprofits don't have ownership. So as a 501c3, there's no official owner. So your investment into that is a donation, it's no investment into that. Yeah.
I've said this before to you many times, right? You have to have better clarity on what this thing is, right? So you and I have talked lots of times about whether you intended to or not, your business model is a clone of the original Liftport's business model, right? There's the big idea of the space elevator, and then supporting subsidiary developments. Sometimes they're technology developments, sometimes they're commercial developments. Your story is very muddied, and we've talked about that a couple times. When you're doing an investor pitch like this, I would have had one slide that says, we support Ethereum. Ethereum supports WSPEC.
Yes.
And some of the money is going there, but I wouldn't have put some of the money is going there. I would have been like, we support those guys and move on, because it muddies the whole conversation.
Yeah.
And don't go in a long discussion about what they do.
And
briefly state
your business today is carbon nanotech as like the core thing of the business today.
Yeah.
A vision of a future elevator, cool, but nanotech is relevant right now today. So I would have put 90% of your slides on nanotech, the market, the potential, your particular technique that is different from other people's technique, why nanotech exists in the world and what you can do with it. Are you going to build better metals, or are you going to build better girders for buildings, right? Yeah. So this was a very fuzzy presentation. And I don't mean to throw you under a bus, but you know where I'm at with that.
But
Well, I agree that the what's going on there also is when you're doing an investor pitch for investor capital. I mean, at the beginning of it, first you have to really articulate well the burning problem that you want to solve. That was fuzzy as well. I wasn't quite seeing it, because building a space elevator is not a burning problem that the vast majority of people feel the need to solve right now. We'll get there, but right now there's a burning problem we need to solve today. It might be the nanotech thing that can lead to other and greater things. You can point to that later. See, hey, if we do this, we can build this, 20 years from now. And then at the other side of it is, okay, how's your money going to work? And what's the ROI? Is there an exit strategy, or are we just going to do a management buyout? And just give you a 6x or 10x or something, and depending on how you work things. I think it needs more clarity there as well.
And Mordy, this is all for you it's for our audience and as well as for you to really develop and grow. And I want to say this though, I don't want you to feel like you're getting beat up, but you did a great job. It takes a lot of courage to get up there. Michael could tell you, and get slings and arrows thrown at you. I don't care. I've done these in competition in college and stuff, and then I can win them, but he's still nervous. You couldn't get a pin up your butt with a jackhammer. So, but anyway, what I want to get at though is that you got a big picture project, right? That's the selling point. That gets you in the door, but you got to be zero in and focus on the moment right now. So what Michael said is very true, and what Tom said is very true, and that's what the beans and bullets are going to be.
Thank you.
I'm not sure who our new audience member is, Michael Camp, but thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Amazing.
Yeah, he's going to be a guest in a couple of weeks.
Oh, terrific. Great. So, a lot of people know, my history because of this show, but look, I stumbled and failed building a space elevator several times. So my hat's off to you for taking on this challenge again, because I won't be doing that again.
But he's young.
Oh, shock, right? Shock. But
But you're still a cult leader.
Yeah.
You're stuck with that for life, dude.
For better or for worse. That part's true. So I recommend that your pitch is good, but you've got a bunch of different pieces, and I'm not sure that nanotech is where you should be leading, because you've got all of these other IPs coming out of the competition. And I think that's a big asset for you that is kind of underappreciated, right? Do you have any plans? Is there a path for commercializing the climbing technology? Because that's almost an active laboratory that all of the other students are helping you perfect that tech.
Be great for Avialto.
Yeah. And that's a big part. So yeah, there are. I mean, again, there is talks right now, and that's a big part of the next phase. So that's really that next phase where we would be able to actually directly incubate these companies and help them succeed and have parts of them as well. So that's the venture studio model. The reason we're focusing on the materials first is really just materials are the go no go. It's the real killer whenever you come into the room for building a space elevator on Earth, and that's the thing we want to tackle first. We want to know if is a space elevator on Earth possible in a reasonable near-term future or not, and that's.
I want to caution you on that, because don't speculate about what's possible, because a lot of people have already made absolute statements about orbital data centers. And the problem with that is that they have a fixed idea what an orbital data center is. You change the constraints, something is possible. There's going to be something up there that's computing. How that's going to be come out, we don't know yet. It's not going to be a Connex box, as we pretty much all figured, but it's going to be there. The same thing happens here with what you're doing. You don't know what the end destination is and how that's going to play out, but you're doing your part. You have to make the steps forward. And the technology that you develop, that is very important. And that's the key part. You focus on taking care of that technology, growing that technology, and that will help you go along, and then it'll help you answer your questions as you go along. And that will also help others around you answer their questions as it goes along.
I would also take the thing that you have, right? That stupid phrase, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. The thing that you have is IP surrounding climbing and power beaming and a little bit about materials. And that's a thing that you have. And I'm not saying like shift your North Star. The North Star is still your elevator, but you have a thing that you're not developing on the what if we build a space elevator and the thing that we don't yet have. So I would maybe consider reprioritizing for the thing that is in front of you. I didn't want to start a media company at all, but it kept coming up 3-4 different times until we got it, because it was an asset that we had. If you had told the first version of Michael Lane all the way back in 2001, 2, and 3 that I was going to be creating a media company that Sean's taken over, I would have said hell no. But it was the asset that we had that kept us alive. And I mean, kept us alive. So don't dismiss the thing that you have for the thing that you want.
Yeah. And have you thought about the types of investors as you go along? Because what you're doing is very infrastructure heavy, and not all investor classes are going to match up with that.
So I don't know, again, so specific, I guess, yeah, that's good, but I think, but then I'd love to hear, that's Rick. But I think at this point, early stage, and that's kind of also the angle that we're taking, right, is long-term. It's investors that are interested in the infrastructure or understanding of the concept of the space elevator as the long-term. That's this first phase, because there is the short-term value here is IP, which is very valuable, but it's IP. Then in the next phase where it's real physical materials, then the angle is much more on the material production, which would be much more industry or venture capital investment from that side, as well as starting a fund. So I think that's also much more, but a fund also on the idea of the space elevator as a long-term concept. So again, just kind of shifting, I guess, the types, the investment types.
Now, are you running your phases linearly, and then once you complete one, then you go into the other, or are you going to run in parallel?
The phases, like the series rounds that have ahead, or the phases that are going on for the space elevator?
You go phase one where you're doing IP to a certain level. Some of the stuff that you're working on, hey, I can go ahead and start phase two now with this stuff. And you still
absolutely. It's not
phase one and phase two at the same time.
Exactly. Yeah. They're all going on at the same. It would all be going on at the same time. Kind of like what Mike is saying, right? If we see a lot of value from the competition right now, or if we can raise for a studio on its own to take these companies and turn them into their own companies right now, we see, if there's business case around that, absolutely. Yeah. So to go, or if there's an opportunity to test, right? And I think Liftport could be a great example, right? Testing a space elevator on the moon, or testing a space elevator in use on a different body. That's phase 3. But if we can get that done earlier, or again, the case around that exists, and we're able to do that first, that accelerates the timeline. So it's all just, these are the scaling phases that need to take place. And if this happens linearly, in terms of like the project scale and complexity, it grows straight. But absolutely, the goal is to have it happen as soon as possible and to get to the end point. So, yeah.
Cool.
I want to come back to the numbers for a second. Tom, were you going to say something?
No, I'm just.
I want to come back to the numbers for a second. You've got very specific things: $6.1 million, 38% for this, 19% for that. You actually diminish your credibility by having that level of specificity. Every investor, and I'd love to hear if Joe Prostruto is still on the call to get his perspective on that, because he's a guy who checks. But no investor, what's that phrase from Napoleon? No battle plan survives contact with the enemy. No business plan survives contact with the world. So 6.1, 19%. Just round your numbers. It's
Murphy's Law.
Specific numbers, it actually kind of speaks to a certain naivety that you don't want. Like, you want to be credible walking in there. So yeah. So 6 million, 20%, 30%, 15%, and then put dollars on the 15%, 30%.
I would take that a step further, maybe even rethink the whole damn thing. I mean, you have this idea where we want to go here, and you have so much money put in there. I think if I'm looking for some immediate funding that'll get me to a certain place, then you need to take that circle, turn it into a straight line, and turn it to a series of metrics,
milestones.
For the first 1.6 million is going to get me to here. And the next 2 million is going to get me to here by roughly 18 months. See what I mean? Something like that. Something a little more concrete. We're going to build this and this and this here, and then here, and then here. And by the end, we got this.
Tranches and just have it like.
Yeah.
Think of it like a technology roadmap, but it's a financial roadmap.
Yeah. So you don't want to give any potential investor, it's got to be 6.1 million or nothing.
Right.
And you may need 4 or 5 guys that'll do, different pieces.
We're doing exactly that right now. John, Sean, and I are working out a budget this moment that is okay. Here we're putting 50,000 here, and what's the milestone? We're putting 25,000 here. What's the milestone? 5,000 each dollar amount has a milestone attached to it. So, all right. By the way, this went super fast. We're at 2 minutes to go. Do you want to make any predictions for the 5 and 25 year marks?
Yeah, I guess in terms of the company, I think in 5 years, we're raising for Series. I guess that would be C. So after phase 2 to do real space testing. So that'll be a 5-year goal of in-space testing for a space elevator or use case, really using tethers in space at a level where we can improve the model. So whether that's really early, but using tethers in space at that point. And in 20 years, we have multiple functional working or space elevators in space and on Earth, and we're getting ready or gearing up to building the first Earth space elevators. From a theory perspective, that's where I think we can be in 20 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And by the way, Veronica, thanks. I appreciate your comments. She's like, you worked very hard. Why, thank you. This is not the Michael show, so I'm not going to try. But I appreciate the comments.
Well,
Mordy, the takeaway is be big on the opening and be very specific on the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And on that, Mordy, thank you for doing this and putting yourself on the line.
Mhm.
I'm glad you're willing to take the hits, and I hope you succeed and you make an even better presentation out of it all, and you get what you're looking for.
Thank you.
I know you're a
And
great fan of
also-
the show, and we appreciate you. And thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah.
We'll see you after the show.
So really, thank you.
Yep. See you after the show. Okay. Obviously, Monday, we're still going to be recovering from our national birthday. And so we're all going to be out. I'm sure we all have things planned through that whole extended weekend and through Monday. So we thought, oh, you know what? We're going to, we'll do a good rerun. And but Thursday is going to be fun. Next Thursday, July 9th, if I got her name right, Salonia Massa. She is going to be with us. She's the CEO of Eco Atoms, which is a space manufacturing company. And so we're going to have a lot of interesting questions for her. And that'll be, as always, 8 p.m. Eastern on this a week from today, July 9th. Thank you all for coming. It's been a very, very interesting evening. And for Sean Key and Michael Lane, I remain Thomas Andrew Olson. Keep watching the skies.